If you're a BCBA who's been feeling stuck, unfulfilled, or wondering what else is out there, you just found your new favorite podcast. This is No Broke Behavior Analyst, and I'm your host, Sarah Burby. I'm a BCBA, board certified health coach, certified intuitive eating counselor, 7-figure business owner, speaker, mentor, and most importantly, your biggest hype girl. You already know you can use ABA outside of autism, but nobody ever told you how. Well, at least not until now. I love taking the science you already know and showing you how to turn it into consulting, coaching, courses, corporate training, and income streams that don't require a single session note. Every week, we're talking money, business, mindset, and all the ways your skills can take you places the field never told you existed. Ready to build a life you're obsessed with? Let's get into it. Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of No Broke Behavior Analyst. Dare I say it, I'm actually kind of liking doing the video. I was so stressed out doing video versus just audio, and it's getting kind of fun. So there you go. In today's episode, I want to talk about the fear of being seen and the mindset work around that. Now, most people do not think that they have a mindset, quote unquote, problem. Most people don't think that they need to work on their mindset. But I believe in my heart that everybody, myself included, can work on mindset. If you are not making millions and millions of dollars, if you are not working your dream job, if you do not believe that you could have everything in life that you desire, then my suggestion is to work on your mindset because mindset is the root of everything else. And I have said this before, this is a hill that I am willing to die on. You can have all of the business strategy in the world. You could work with the best business coaches. You could spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on a business coach, on a business program. You can learn from Alex Hormozy or Tony Robbins or Dan Henry. But if you do not have the mindset, if you do not believe that you can actually implement the things, it's going to be a waste of money. And that is why anything I do will always have a mindset component, because if the mindset is not there, the other stuff is just going to be information. You've just spent a lot of money for information that you're not actually going to be able to implement. So I want to talk about what does it mean to have this fear of being seen and to be vulnerable and put yourself out there, because this is something that I struggled with for a very long time. I I don't know if I've told this story before, but I did not get diagnosed with general anxiety disorder until after Parker was born. So they called it general anxiety disorder postpartum onset. I've had anxiety my entire life. Like, I remember being in like first grade and having a soccer tournament the next day and not being able to sleep and having this pit in my stomach. And I didn't realize that that was like not a normal thing, that every 6, 7-year-old didn't have that feeling. And I've had just experienced anxiety my whole life, and nothing really changed when I got the anxiety diagnosis, except I felt this kind of like relief that I finally had a name to what I had been experiencing. And a lot of things in life just clicked and made sense. But I realized a lot of my fear of being seen comes from that social anxiety and that social acceptance. And we can say that we don't care about that, but it is one of our basic human needs to be connected and accepted in some shape or form. Like, that is just a basic human need. Just like we need food and shelter and water, we need some sort of acceptance and community in order to survive. And so I had a lot of fear and anxiety around social acceptance. I started to drink socially when I was in high school. I mean, not often, but at high school parties and things. And I would realize that when I would drink socially, I started to come out of my shell and I was acting how I actually wanted to act. But drinking gave me that, like, oh, well, I'm drunk, I'm this, I'm that. That was the reason I did this or that. But really, it was like I felt like my true personality was coming out when I would drink. And then when I wouldn't drink, I would go back to being really shy and really quiet, and I wouldn't be as outgoing. And when I went into college, it got worse. I would drink more often, and I was like, "Ooh, this is a fun Sarah." People would be like, "Oh, she has 2 different personalities. This is a fun person when she drinks." I'm like, "That's just me." But why do I feel like I need alcohol in order to bring out my true self. And so eventually in my early 20s, it got to a point where I was like, I am so tired of being hungover. I'm so tired of hiding who I actually am and feeling like I need to depend on this thing in order to be my true self and realize like, okay, I'm not going to drink anymore. I'm going to really dive deep into like why I think this is. And a lot of it was that social anxiety. A lot of it was fear of being judged and fear of being accepted. And what if I act like my true self and people don't accept me or love me? And so there was a lot of work that I went through for that side of it. And then starting a business is like a whole nother animal, right? Because when you start a business, if you're on social media, if you're going to networking events, you are putting yourself out there to be vulnerable and to be judged. But this is relevant even if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, it doesn't matter. I don't want to start a business. It applies to anything. If you are wanting to apply for a promotion, if you want to get a new job, if you want to start advocating yourself for leaving work on time or not doing work that you're not getting paid for or not traveling 2 hours for a client, anything, there is probably some mindset behind that and a fear of being seen and a fear of being judged. And so, anytime that we're putting ourselves out there, we are putting ourselves in a vulnerable position to be seen, to be judged, to not be accepted. And I don't care what anybody says. We can say, oh, I don't care what this person says. I don't care what that person says. For the most part, I actually don't care anymore about people that I do not love, people that are not my clients, people that I do not care for. I generally do not care about what people think. But there are still going to be some things that just are like salt in a wound. And when that happens to me, I know that I have to do the deep work of like, damn, why the hell did that specific comment trigger me so much? And I have to do the inner work and heal that part of me that I thought was already healed. And so I'll give an example later on what that was like recently for me. But I have just built that resilience of being willing to be seen in service of my mission and what's really important to me. So, especially in the last year, I would say Sarah Burby social media account has probably grown more in the last year than it has up until this point. And the more that I put myself out there and my thoughts and my opinions on certain things, I realize that I am opening myself up to criticism and to being seen. And for a long time, my biggest fear was that somebody wasn't going to like me. And I say it out loud and it sounds so ridiculous to say it out loud, but that was my fear that somebody was not going to like me, that someone was going to talk badly about me, that someone was going to think that I wasn't a kind person. And I had to get over that fear because I was going to get to a certain point in my business where I was going to come to a standstill. Like, if you are not willing to be disliked, for people to misunderstand you, for people to misinterpret what you say, then you are absolutely going to be at a standstill. And there's no other way to say it. Like, you're just gonna hit a certain point and you're not gonna be able to go past that point. And so for me, I had to understand, I had to get really clarity on like, am I now gonna be okay with standing behind the things that I say and my mission and my values and putting myself out there, knowing that people are probably gonna be unkind, people are not gonna like what I have to say. I had to accept that in service of my mission of disseminating the science, my mission of helping people make more money, helping people impact or better their lives, the lives of their family, the lives of their friends. It's like, am I willing to be criticized knowing that that's the other side of the coin, right? Like, I can't have one side without the other. I can't want to make all this impact and help all these people without being willing to be criticized. And so even just like learning a new skill, I was thinking about this the other day when I first learned how to knit, when I first learned how to do this podcast, when I first learned how to do anything, I was putting myself in a vulnerable position, right? If anyone's ever learned to knit before at 30 something years old, it is frustrating. It is very frustrating. You make one mistake and you have to go back, or you have to learn how to like fix the stitch. And it was so frustrating. And I felt like a little embarrassed going to like one-to-one knitting lessons. And I'm like, why can I not get this? Why is this so hard for me? This is so frustrating. And it's because it was just something new. And I felt like embarrassed that this person was being so patient with me and I couldn't actually get the concept of what she was teaching. And I actually had this experience before that, before I went to, like, the place that I go now for knitting lessons, where the person was, like, kind of rude about it, and she was basically asking me, like, "Oh, are you sure you wanna keep doing this?" And I was like, "Of course I wanna keep doing this, I never went back to that place again." And I would wanna try different stitches, and she'd be like, "I don't know if you're ready for that yet." And then I went to this place, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, of course you're ready. You could do this stitch, you could do that stitch." So, anyway, I think a lot of it goes based on our past experiences, like that one, or just this fear. And so, anytime that you are putting yourself out there, you are 100% going to be open to judgment and to criticism. And then, like, what is the bigger fear behind that? I want you to think about, okay, so what is the worst case scenario? We just did this exercise in our Clinicians Doing More program yesterday of like, okay, what is the actual bigger fear? So, for example, I put myself out there. I make a post on social media about our coaching program. What is my biggest fear? Somebody comments on the program and says, "Oh, you're making so much money off of BCBAs. It is a $6,000 program. That is so selfish. How come you are not charging half the price for this?" In that moment, what are my biggest fears? My biggest fear is that everyone's going to go on my social media page and see that and be like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, they're right. Sarah is charging so much money. That's ridiculous. She's a greedy business owner." My fear is that people are going to see that comment and no one is going to sign up for my coaching program ever again. My fear is that people are not going to like me. They're going to talk badly about me. Number one, that's extreme, right? Number two, I know that people don't understand how much money and how much time and energy goes in the back end. And here's what I had to learn the hard way. If I spend my entire life trying to please other people, if I spend my entire life trying to show up in a way that's going to make everybody happy, I am not being true to myself. I am not being kind to myself. I am limiting my potential. And that is like my worst nightmare. I don't ever want to limit my potential. I don't ever want to cap my potential to make other people comfortable. And when I say that, I think sometimes people will also misinterpret that and like, I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm not going to care about other people's feelings. That is not true. That couldn't be farther from the truth. I am very caring and I want to do whatever I can to help people. What it means is I am not going to hide myself to make other people comfortable. And we all know there's always going to be somebody that has something to say. There's always going to be someone that has a comment. There's people that will find something negative to say about the nicest person in the world. And so, just know that that's part of growth. That's part of putting yourself out there. To give an example, so one of the reasons that I didn't want to present, one of the reasons I didn't want to do CEUs when I first started doing this, which again is so ironic that here I am doing a video podcast, but I was terrified to do CEUs, but I was. And one of the reasons was I was so terrified to read the feedback that people would provide doing CEUs. And think about it. When you're doing a CEU, when you're teaching someone something, you are making yourself totally open and available to feedback, constructive feedback. Sometimes it's constructive, sometimes it's just not kind feedback. And you're voluntarily doing that. You're saying, "Hey, here I am. Give me all the feedback in the world." And so, my biggest fear in the beginning was that someone was going to give me feedback that was not kind, or that was not like 5 out of 5 stars, absolutely loved it, which is unreal anyway. And I actually do like constructive feedback. I do want to know what people liked, what people didn't like, so I can tweak it and change it later. But I kid you not, I would do CEUs, and that at the time I was doing like a Google form to get the feedback. And I would be on my phone and I would see someone filled out a form and my heart would sink into my chest. And I would be like, almost like this obsessive urge that I have to go check this feedback form to see what people say. And one of the first ones I did on ABA and intuitive eating, I remember it was positive, positive, positive. And someone gave me feedback that was like, this wasn't really that helpful. Like it kind of just taught me everything I already knew. It didn't really go beyond like what I already knew. And I was like, oh, I was crushed. It's like, I thought this was so good. All these other people are saying it's good. How come this person didn't think it was good? And then I had a little pity party and I was like, well, maybe that person's actually right. What can I do? What can I change to make it go beyond, maybe some of the basic principles? Doesn't mean that we always have to take feedback from other people. Sometimes feedback is just not kind and we have to just let it go in one ear and out the other. But in that case, I'm like, okay, can I look at this objectively and how can I implement this feedback to make my course a little bit better? So I had to get over that. And that was a mini example of the more presentations I did, the more I spoke at events and CEUs and webinars, the better I got at speaking, but also the more available became to criticism and judgment from other people. Now, recently, like really recently at NJABA, I did a presentation and I was in like the big ballroom area where the keynote speakers go. I was not the keynote speaker, but I was in the ballroom area and people were spread out throughout the whole ballroom, which was really hard to do as a speaker because I was like, where am I looking? Where am I giving my attention? And so most of the people were straight ahead and to my right, and there was a few people over here on the left. And so anytime I do speaking events, I like to ask questions and engage the audience. And I thought I was doing that pretty well. Like I finished the presentation, I was like, oh, I feel good about this. There was a lot of engagement. I think people liked it. And I went to look at the feedback later on that day, and it was positive. I loved it. Favorite one of the day. And then I had two people. One person said, it felt very conversational. It didn't really feel as professional, which kind of is the vibe that I give off. So I wasn't like too upset about that. And then someone said was really annoyed, gave me a 3 out of 5 stars and said the person didn't look at my side of the room at all. I had my hand raised the whole time. They were only looking at one side of the room. And I was like, oh my goodness. It was probably accurate feedback. I mean, I did look a little bit to the left and to the right, but I was like, wow, yeah, I probably could have looked more at that person. But is that the end of the world? Like, that made me feel kind of sad and kind of like, "Oh gosh, my score is gonna be lower on behavior life," but that is, like, the thing that's underneath it. It's like, "Sarah, do you really care that this particular person you don't even know gave you a 3 out of 5, or do you care that your now overall score on behavior life for this presentation is gonna be, like, a 4.5 instead of a 5?" Interesting, Sarah. Oh, I care about that. Why do I care about that? Is it because other behavior analysts are now then gonna go on Behavior Live, and what if they type my name in and they see the past speaking events I did? They're gonna be like, all these speakers are getting like 5 stars, 4.8 stars. Sarah has been getting 4.5 stars. Oh gosh, okay. Then what is my fear? Oh, people aren't gonna like me. People aren't gonna want me to present at conferences. People aren't gonna wanna give me speaking opportunities. Like, see how my mind just spiraled from that one comment to all the things that could potentially happen? And maybe that will happen, maybe that won't. But also, my solution is like, I believe that there's something that I can control in every situation. Maybe people will go to Behavior Live and be like, Sarah Burby's not the greatest speaker, but what can I do in that situation? I can continue to market my CEUs. I can continue to do events. Do I need to rely on this third party platform to get people to come to my events? No, I don't. So there's always a something within our control, I think, in those situations that can help us through that. If you have a fear of posting on social media, this is such a common thing, such a common thing. People will be like, I don't like social media. I don't post on social media because I don't like social media. Fair enough, right? If you don't like social media, I say this all the time, you can have a wildly successful business without posting on social media. I think it's silly. I think you should post on social media, but that's neither here nor there for this episode. But people will tell me, I don't want to post on social media. And I say, okay, let me just get curious here. What is it about posting on social media that you don't like? Well, it's making the content, it's having all the posts lined up, ready to go. Then I'll get curious more. Okay, why do you feel like you have to have all the posts up ready to go? Well, I want to be consistent on social media. What does consistent mean? Posting every day. That is not consistent. You get to decide your own version of consistent, number one, right? So for you, posting consistently is once a week. That's consistent. That's your version of consistent. That's number one. Number two, a lot of people obsess about having the perfect type of content, the fonts, the colors, the graphics. That is a fear of being judged, a fear of being seen. Of if I post this thing and it's not absolutely perfect, then so and so is going to be like, she has an Instagram account and it's really ugly. Who cares? Why do you care if that person says something? And that is not a sarcastic question. These are the questions that we need to ask ourselves if we want to be successful in business. Why do we care about if that person thinks that? What is the deeper why? What is the deeper wound that we have to heal? Because we can't just pretend it doesn't exist. We can't just go on with our lives and have that wound that's not healed because we're going to get to a standstill. It's going to come up again and again and again. So usually it's this fear of not being perfect, or it's a fear of posting something and people not liking it, literally and figuratively, right? So then what happens? We get embarrassed. I posted something, I have a social media page, I'm embarrassed that nobody liked it, nobody commented on it, nobody shared it. We compare ourselves to other people that have an Instagram for a month longer than us, 3 months longer than us, years longer than us, that post something and they're like, "Oh, they always get all these likes, they get all these saves." So we compare ourselves to where somebody is in that journey, and then we make the conclusion that our content sucks, that nobody likes us, and then we stop posting. What if we reframe that? What if we looked at it as like, this is just the beginning? We're starting something new. We're taking time to figure out what kind of content converts for us, what people are liking, what people are not liking. We're trying to get our name out there. We know that it takes time, and every single thing that we do in business is just data. That's it. Everything that we're doing is data. If we can learn to look at everything objectively and take the emotion out of it, how much different is our lives going to be when we look at our business? If we can objectively just say, okay, interesting, this social media post did this percentage of likes and saves and shares, this social media post did this percentage. Huh, I wonder why that is. And take the emotion out of it. Oh, I'm so frustrated. I took all this time and energy on this post, and I'm just a bad coach, and I'm a bad this person, I'm a bad that person. Let's pause and say, let's just look at it. Let's just take the emotion out of it and see what was it about this post that did well and that post that didn't do as well. It's just a lot of trial and error in the beginning. Again, we can give you all the strategies, all the things in the world, but at the end of the day, it's going to be trial and error for what works best for your audience. And if we don't continue to post things, if we don't continue to share our thoughts and opinions, then we're never going to get that feedback. We're never going to grow. And at the end of the day, we're hurting ourselves. We're also hurting the people that need to hear our message the most. Because I believe that in my heart and in my soul, that there are people that are just meant to hear our messages. We are meant to impact so many people's lives. And the way that I do that through my business is through Instagram, through coaching, through our Clinicians Doing More program. I started to save a folder of people that would just message me and be like, you have no idea how much the coaching program changed my life in ways that I can't even describe. And if I have just one message from that, then like my whole mission, my whole purpose on life, I've been fulfilling my mission, right? And the more that I put myself out there, yes, I'm opening myself to more criticism, but I'm also opening up myself to impact more people and have such a positive impact and a ripple effect on other people's lives. So again, we can't have one without the other. I remember at our retreat, Dr. Jill Stoddard was asking us, like, who here in the room has a pet or has had a pet in the past? And most people raise their hand. I think everyone raised their hand. And it's like, when you got the pet, did you think that that pet was going to live forever? Maybe in our heart we want it to live forever, but we know realistically a pet is not going to live forever. What's going to happen is eventually that pet is going to pass away. I know that sounds morbid, but stay with me for a second. We still got the pet. We still said, yes, I want this cat, I want this dog, I want this whatever pet that we have, because that pet brings us so much joy and love and happiness and becomes part of our families at times, right? Sure, we could have never got the pet because we don't want our hearts broken if and when that pet passes away, but most of us don't do that. We buy the pet, we take care of the pet, we love the pet, we nurture the pet, and then we feel sad when that pet passes away, but we can't have the happiness without the sadness. Hey, that's an example of everything in our life. We can't have the good without having the opposite of that. And are we willing to put ourselves out there? Are we willing to be criticized and be judged and be disliked? Because on the other side of that is something so freaking beautiful and something that we just cannot achieve if we are not willing to be seen and heard and criticized. And I know that sounds easier said than done. I am not saying it's easy. I'm saying this takes practice and practice and practice of every single time that somebody criticizes you, every single time that somebody judges you or says something unkind to you. I want you to think about, like, where is a bigger hurt? What wound is that pouring salt into for you? So for me, I get like teary eyed when I think about this because I, again, have done a lot of work on this. I'm not saying I'm perfect by any means, but I had to do a lot as my business started to grow and scale. And I remember about 6 months ago, one of my friends sent me a post on Instagram from another BCBA that's a business owner. And basically, the post was like, I don't know why some of you BCBAs are paying for a coaching program that's $6,000 because it's basically a pyramid scheme. And my heart again sank into my stomach. I was so upset by that comment, I started bawling. And I got so mad at myself that I let another BCBA hurt me by making that comment, by making that post. And I just cried and I cried. And I was at an event actually with my business coach, and she's like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" And I'm like, I'm so upset by this post. I'm so offended that this person would say this about my program. And she's like, "Why are you so offended? Sarah, look at the data that you have. Look at the last year and a half of all the people who went through your program that have thanked you, that are still thanking you, that are still sending you text messages. Think about all the lives you changed, the people that are getting jobs that they like, that are spending more time with their families, that are doing X, Y, or Z because of your program. What is it about this comment that is making you so upset?" And I was like, "I don't know." I had to do the inner work and be like, why the hell did that comment trigger me so much? Is it because I didn't know? I had to journal about it. Like, what is it about that comment? Calling it a pyramid scheme. And I think because I am so aware of making it not a pyramid scheme and like making it so in my marketing messaging so clear and what the program is and what jobs are available and what other BCBAs are doing, and giving people so much information about the program because I want people to have autonomy when they buy anything from me. It's like, here's the facts, here's the details. Do you want to buy? Do you not want to buy? And I never, ever, ever want anybody to feel like they were manipulated into buying something. And so I interpreted that of like, Sarah's just manipulating people. She's taking all their money. They're not getting anything in return through this program. And I guess deep down inside, that was a fear that I had, that people were going to think that I'm just this selfish person that is taking everybody's money. And I know in my heart and soul that that's not true. I know that is the farthest thing from the truth. I know that that person probably is struggling with a lot of their own internal struggles, their own internal wounds, and they're then projecting those struggles onto me because they probably see me as happy and successful. And I know that deep down, but I had to work through that open wound in order to be able to process that and then move on bigger and have more passion and more heart than I ever thought possible into what I'm doing and just continuing to grow and expand. But we have to be really honest with ourselves and open with ourselves on what is the wound that is still not healed yet and how do we best work through that wound. For me, it's just being really quiet with myself and digging into this of like, I'm not going to say this to anybody else. I just need to ask myself, what about this comment is really bothering me? Because we all have comments all the time and we're like, okay, this person's commenting this person's commenting on that. Oh, it's so silly. Oh, it doesn't matter. Why is it this one comment? Why is this one person's opinion that is affecting us more than the others? And that's only something that you could filter out. And if you're not sure, just start taking note of like, okay, this comment I was able to brush off. It didn't really bother me that much. Why did this one random comment, because it's not actually random, why did this one particular thing sit with me for so long? And then you work through it. That's the only way. It's like the only way out is through it, right? We can't, there's no quick fix or thing that I could tell you to get through that. It's just like we have to be willing to sit with the discomfort, to push through literally the discomfort and figure out what it is. We can heal it, and then we can show up bigger and better and stronger and have more of an impact. And that's why you're all starting a business anyway. You want to positively impact other people's lives. And just know when you do that, the bigger you grow, the bigger you scale. Yes, you're going to be open to more criticism, but my goodness, you're also going to be open to having such an impact, and you're going to be able to help so many other people by being willing to be seen. That's all I got for you guys this week. I love you all. I will see you next week on No Broke Behavior Analysts.